All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DrunkFriend podcast. You know how it goes around here. I'm Trav of Nest Friend. That's Alex of Nest Drunk, and we get together every week to talk about or to retro gaming enthusiasts. And we got a good show coming up today, but first, Alex, you've been on this hiatus, very brief hiatus. Hiatus.
I have?
Hiatus, as they say somewhere. What has that been like? And I also wanted to comment that I saw that you uploaded a video today, and I was like, isn't that something? Taking a vacation, but still working on his videos. What a guy.
It's one of those things where I just can't help myself. I just... the video that I uploaded to my Patreon as like early access was the 13 worst Super Nintendo soundtracks, and it was something that I already had my 13 plotted out, and that's a very easy one to write because it's just making stupid jokes about bad music, and you know I grew up watching Mystery Science Theater, so yeah, it was just came real natural. It's a real easy video to write. So that one was just like, I might as well just get this one done. And it's like a 9-minute video. Yeah.
So that's good. So in this hiatus, at least you've been able to capitalize on the time where you've not had to worry about putting out a video or answering comments and stuff to actually get ahead. And that'll help you. That'll take some of the stress off for the weeks to come. So I think that works.
That's the idea. And plus, I'm just kind of, I like I said, I can't help myself because lately I've been playing Castlevania 2. I'm not entirely sure why I ended up on Castlevania 2. It's just one of those games, kind of like Zelda 2, where it's like this game has this, shady reputation. Some people hate it for dumb reasons.
Shady reputation, like it's going to steal all your lunch money.
It's gonna dump your books. it's gonna dent your car. Key your car and all that sort of stuff. But no, I like games like that have it's hard to differentiate between like what it was like at the time when it came out and what it's like now, because I'm sure at the time Castlevania 2 was a completely different beast than it is now. So it's one of those, I like thinking about that kind of stuff, and when I play a game, I can't help but come up with these like dumb little observations. I write them down or I type them out in some cases. And I ended up writing like 11 paragraphs on it, and yeah, there will be a video on that sometime soon.
Very cool. Very cool. You bring up a good point, though. Wouldn't it be neat, I guess in some way, to be able to capture more of the genuine reaction at the time that a lot of these games that we cover were released? Because I think about that, too. Like, when I'm playing a game, whether it's like in the middle of the series or something, I'm like, man, I don't really like this as much. I wonder if people felt the same way. You can always look to reviews. There were magazines and publications back then, but those don't really capture I mean, even if you look at a Nintendo Power and it's like the whatever they called the Nintendo Power crew there that rated, and then the reader reviews, they were always very different. And I guess that's one way to do it. But I wish there was like a forum or something from like 1988 I could go back to and be like, what do people fucking think of Mappy Land back then?
Yeah, I know. Talking about there's not like a YouTube comment section for like a playthrough for that sort of stuff where you can go and see what people think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you could look at
know what else
sales. I don't know, but that doesn't tell you what people thought. That doesn't give you an indication of whether it was good or bad, just that people thought it would be good.
Yeah, exactly. And sales would be a better indication of marketing, advertising, that sort of, that whole aspect of things. But yeah, it's Castlevania 2. It is just word of mouth based on what you knew from your friends, from, other kids at school, that sort of thing. And that's all I went by. And I wasn't even that close to it because I didn't have an NES. My only NES exposure at the time was through my friend, my best childhood friend, Dan. And, I don't think he really was a big Castlevania guy. We were into mostly sports games, Mario, Zelda, that stuff. So,
right.
Yeah, it's Castlevania 2. I don't know. I'm pretty much in the dark.
Yeah. Well,
what about you?
Well, no, I didn't have a lot of experience with it either. I'd only played 1 and 3. So 2 is one that has always been, people just always said it was different. And I was like, I don't want it to be different. I want it to be Castlevania. So I just didn't play it.
That seems to be a theme, though, with games. It's almost like a band. When they record an album, they have their first album successful. Like, look at Pearl Jam 10. And then, actually, Pearl Jam's probably not the best example, but maybe Stone Temple Pilots would be a good example because they had their first album, Core.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds a certain way. And then they record their second album, Purple, and it sounds like kind of weird, kind of like 70s ish, and it's like kind of hard to put your finger on. I think games were like that back then too, where it was like Mega Man X2 was a little, like, and Donkey Kong Country 2, and technically Super Mario World 2, even though Yoshi's Island was kind of its own game entirely. But a lot of sequels like kind of tried to take liberties. They took more freedoms. They tried new things with the formula. They weren't satisfied with just doing like, hey, let's do more Donkey Kong Country. It's like, no, let's have a new character. Let's get rid of this Donkey Kong bum that the game is named after.
Yeah,
and let's structure the stuff vertically, and let's have jumping be a bigger part. Let's make it more a pure platformer. So that doesn't seem like that's the case anymore with game. I am not an authority on current games, obviously, but
it does seem like the old school way of thinking was, we're not going to put out the same thing again. We're going to start from scratch and do something completely different with this. Because it kind of felt like, especially during the NES era when, we got an extra button over the Atari. We have a start and select on the keypad. Like, there was, everyone was experimenting with everything. Like, there wasn't really, even given the limitations, not many two games were alike. And I think that's sort of a credit to the Old West, or the Wild West nature of the time was, even within a franchise, they were the same way. They were like, oh, we did that already. We already did side-scrolling platforming for this franchise, so now we have to do upside-down vertical platforming with a light gun. We have to try it.
Well, even the Mega Man series, as samey as they are,
that's a good one, yeah.
Stages like Gravity Man, where it's like, okay, everything's upside down, just as you said.
Yeah, and Mega Man is the only example I can think of where the sequels were almost,
consistent.
Where the consistency was definitely there, yeah. I mean, even the Marios differed quite a bit. Same recipe, but... Well, I guess same formula, but the recipe was very different.
Yeah.
Anyway. Speaking of classic games, we were definitely guests on a very fun podcast called the Classic Gaming Podcast that came out this month.
A few days ago, yeah. That's my buddy Rob. I've been on this podcast, I think 5 or 6 times. And his friend Jay has been the co-host there the whole time. This podcast has been around for, what episode number were we? Like 150 something?
I want to say 147, but I make up numbers sometimes, so don't quote me.
It's way up there. And every podcast they do it's basically Rob's project, and they every podcast they do is like super long form. It's really cool. It really is just like sit around and talk about what you've been playing. Any funny observations, and they do a really fun top 5 list. In this case, for them, it was top 5 most misleading titles.
Oh, yeah.
And that's always fun because there are a lot of those from going back in the day. I think my number 5 was pretty lame. I got off to a slow start with Zombies Ate My Neighbors because you didn't actually see any zombies eating neighbors, but I realized after the fact, it's like, oh, it's Zombies Ate My Neighbors. So it's like a bunch of guys that are already like full of human flesh that, they're full, they're not eating, they've eaten them. So.
That whole segment was hilarious.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. Was we all had completely different titles. I thought for sure one of us would overlap, but we had between the 4 of us there with our top 5s, we had 20 pretty hilarious takes on misleading titles, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, definitely check that out. You can actually find it on classicgamingpodcast.com, and it is episode 147. It says featuring DrunkFriend right in the title, so you can't miss it.
You remembered that on the nose. Good job by you.
I mean, sometimes with these numbers, man, I can do it.
So what are you drinking, Trav?
Tonight, I took a little... page out of your playbook, I guess you could say. I'm drinking a Stone Brewing. I got a little variety pack earlier today.
Oh,
I'm
really?
drinking their Tiki Escape IPA. I'm an IPA guy. I enjoy this.
I don't know what that is at all. I've never heard of that.
With Sabro and Mosaic, which I thought were 2 things you would put in a window. I didn't know that beer could have it. So it's a 7.7% alcohol, but it's called the Tiki Escape IPA by Stone. So it's very good, actually. I like it.
And what else is in that?
Oh man, I don't know.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't want to make you go look for it, but
No, I'm holding it in my hand. I'm like, I don't know. Where does it say? It says don't drink
no,
pregnant.
In the rest of the what do you call it?
The variety pack. Yeah, I thought you were asking for like ingredients for the beer. I'm like, I know water's one of them.
It's got alcohol. That's
barley. No, well, I will say the one that we drink, because the way that we do these episodes is we interview the person and then we do the intro after. So while we were talking to White Hat, I was drinking the Buenaveza Salt and Lime Lager.
Salt and lime lager. Wow. They are coming up with stuff I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I will say that one tasted more like somebody like captured rain on a trash can lid. Like it didn't taste great, but it was wet. But this other one over here, I'm drinking.
An endorsement.
Yeah, not that one. I mean, I would just say it's run of the mill trash can lid water. But the
please sponsor us if you get the opportunity.
I will do beer reviews. Tiki Escape IPA is pretty good. It tastes exactly like Sabro and Mosaic is right in there. So I'm enjoying it.
I was gonna say, aren't those Photoshop filters?
I think they are. Yeah, weird. So what are you drinking?
Gin. I don't remember what kind of gin. I just know it's it's in this weird fancy Japanese bottle, and I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, but I just have a glass. Just plain old gin. Yeah.
Wow.
That's just kind of how it is with me.
That's how vacations, or I should say YouTube vacation. You're still going to work every day, but
it's I don't know. It's just what I felt like. It felt when I heard White Hat. What's the joke? There's a joke somewhere in some show. Oh God, and I want it served in a white hat. It's
wow.
I think it's when Barney. It's the B Sharps episode of The Simpsons when Barney gets his Yoko Ono, and they go to Moe's, and Yoko Ono is like, I want blah 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 blah, and I want it served in a white hat. And Moe's like, 2 beers coming up.
Wow.
And that kind of like made me think like, hey, how about gin? Because I want it served in a white hat.
So there you go. Your Simpsons memory is, and that makes sense about Yoko Ono because she's always wearing a white hat. So I get it now. I get it 30 years later. I get it.
I recommend that episode, the B Sharps episode. It's like the season premiere of like either season 6 or season 7, one of those. But it's a really, really, really funny episode that I don't hear too many people talking about. But yeah, I'm a big, and I want to specify Simpsons 2 through 10. Seasons 2 through 10.
2 through
1
10?
is a little too... Yeah, 1 is a little too rough.
It's
2
rough.
is right on the nose.
Yeah.
3 is even better. 4 just gets better. And it just gets better. 9 gets a little rough. There's some not so great episodes. 10, there's some not so great episodes. And then 11, it's just like abandoned ship. Like get off of the boat. It's bad.
I will say that I agree with, as another Simpsons fan, I agree with you that 2 through 10 is definitely the strong suit. That's, if I'm going to point someone new to the Simpsons, I say don't venture out of that box. But I will say I have enjoyed all the way up to season 16. I think there's some good stuff through there. After that, though, they changed the palette. The palette of the characters are different. They go to that like the digital art style, which is like a little too clean. It's like my music. I like my Simpsons a little grungier. I like them a little hand drawn. But this is it's different. It's a different feel. And the jokes, they're not really. It's more of it becomes more of a celebrity cameo machine.
They go through that phase, yeah.
I think they're still in it. I think if they can find I liked when a celebrity would come in and be a character and not themselves. But the celebrity always has to be the celebrity. Like Homer knows more celebrities. Like it doesn't make sense to the show. Anyway, we'll do a Simpsons podcast another time.
Oh, I would love that. 90s Simpsons podcast. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that is my wheelhouse.
Yeah, we'll pull that off at some point. Let's get into emails real quick though, so we can get to our guest. First off, this is from Carl. He says, "Hi guys. First of all, love the show." He put love in all caps. Love the show. I listen to it while taking my daughter for walks. Great company. Love the spontaneous nature of the podcast. Keep it up. Here's a question. What's your favorite ninja game from the 8-bit, 16-bit era? Feel free to define ninja game as you see fit. I like Shinobi 3 for the Genesis, with Ninja Gaiden 2 for NES being a close second. Cheers from Sweden, Carl.
And that's not Carl from West Virginia Wrestling, by the way, which is from the video I sent you a few days ago.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that? Inside joke, folks. Inside joke.
Oh, that's the best video I've ever seen.
Basically, it was an independent wrestling video, and it was like a roster rundown of some like indie wrestling thing, and the first guy was just like, "I'm Carl," and it showed like his name underneath it. It was Carl, and I'm like, I wonder if this is the same guy. It's like, nope, he's from Sweden. He's not from West Virginia.
My favorite was the lanky, absolutely non-muscular guy that was a luchador. And he was just
it was something junior. I can't remember.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, West Virginia Wrestling, man. That's where it's at. Anyway, Carl, sorry. Ninja games.
You know Ninja Golf?
I don't know that I've played Ninja Golf.
Oh, Ninja Golf for Sega Master System.
Oh, I've not
It's got one of the most hilarious covers ever. It's not Ninja Golf. It's just kind of a
looks like
golf game.
I got you.
Yeah.
Recently, I played through Wrath of the Black Manta for the NES, and that was a pretty fun ninja game. I got to throw some shurikens and rescue some kids.
You're going off the map here. What about Shadow of the Ninja for NES? That's another good one.
I've dabbled in that. That is good. I've not played a ton of it, so I don't feel like I got a good grip on it. But it is good from what I can tell. Shinobi is also a good choice. It's good on multiple platforms even.
Shadow of the Ninja is Natsume, and they're one of my pick for like the most underrated developer. Underrated's a bad word, but just most underappreciated developer of the 90s, because they've made so many good games, and nobody, they're not like on a household name basis like Capcom or Konami or Squaresoft or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. And then
my
also,
favorite is.
You could say the Ninja Turtles are ninjas. And,
you totally could. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. You could totally go Turtles in Time or Turtles 3 for NES.
I was staying in my lane over here. I think Turtles 3 on the NES is a very solid choice. Yeah.
Nice. I think for me, I'm partial to Hagane, even though that game's become kind of a meme over the years because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
As a cartridge.
It was a Blockbuster only, right? Is that right?
Oh,
Blockbuster. Is that not right?
Don't you start, because you're just starting me down a path of rage. No, it's not a Blockbuster exclusive. There's no proof of that. It's just a regular ass game. What I like about it is that it is just the right kind of difficult. It's really tough, but it's not tough to the point of being ridiculously unfair. It allows you have so many abilities. Your character has got so much stuff to be able to do, and it just works. It just clicks with my brain. I really like it. Ninja Gaiden I really don't like the first game. I think I'm just kind of sick of it because it's so brutally difficult. But Ninja Gaiden 2, Ninja Gaiden 3, they work for me. Shinobi 3 is arguably a top 5 Genesis game, but Hagane would be my choice for sure.
I think it's a good choice.
Rudy wrote in, and or I should say Rudy Gutierrez wrote in, and I just want to say that my childhood dog was named Rudy, and his name was Rudy T Dog. But I props to the name Rudy. I have much respect for any Rudy that exists in the world. So thank you for writing us, Rudy.
Was your dog named after the Sean Astin film about Notre Dame?
With Charles S. Dutton. Don't forget him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As the janitor.
Should have said him first. My bad.
You're 5 foot nothing. You weigh 100 and nothing. And you think you got something to prove? Sorry, the movie gets me going.
We can also do a 90s Sean Astin episode too, if you'd like.
90s Sean Astin episode?
I don't know if there's enough. There's just Rudy, right? And the first Lord of the Rings.
Jeez. Was he in School Ties? No, that was Brendan Fraser. Oh, no, he was in Encino Man.
He was, yes.
That's what he was in. Okay, yeah. That's it. That's all I know.
He was light in the 90s, man. It's not a full episode from us for sure. We're not going to talk about Bulworth or what it was, Deterrence. I didn't even watch that. He was Ralph in Deterrence. I don't even know what that is.
I haven't thought of the movie Bulworth in a very long time. All right, Rudy says, "Hey guys, greetings from Costa Rica." Hey, I used to know a guy from there. Just writing to let you know that I love your podcast. So laid back, informative, and funny. Your guests are great too. I discovered your podcast kind of late, and I'm catching up on all your previous episodes. Thank you for that. Just finished listening to episode 13, and I could really relate to Travis when he mentioned that he couldn't get into the Metroid Prime series. I'm a huge Metroid fan. Super Metroid is my favorite game of all time, hands down. And I was really pumped to try the Prime series. I got the Trilogy Steelbook for the Wii, and I just couldn't get into it. Through no fault of the designers and developers, I was constantly disoriented and therefore hesitant to explore my surroundings, a staple of one of the joys of Metroid games. That's a good point. I guess it was just my inability to adapt to the first-person view. Like Travis said, I guess I'm also just a 2D Metroid guy. I loved your discussion. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I think I kind of am too. I do like the first Metroid Prime. I was lucky enough to try it at like one of those GameCube event things that were like in a tent, and it was before the games came out, and they were like set up in booths. And I played like a demo of Metroid Prime, and it was fucking cool. Like, it was like you played up to the first boss fight basically, which was right away. And it felt like next level. This is like 2002, 2003, something like that. And it was incredible. So I'm always going to be partial to the first Metroid Prime. I won't say I was any good at it, but I still really like what that game tried. What about you? You're not a big Metroid 3D guy?
I've dabbled, and I want to. I haven't given up. That's the thing, though. I'm still looking for, I think, Metroid Prime 3 to add to the collection. I have the first couple.
Do you have a GameCube?
I think you've asked me this before, and I said I have several.
Okay, that's right. This is the one you have like 3 of. Okay, yeah. Never mind.
You never know, well, I'll tell you why actually. Because at MagFest every year, my crew, my posse, my boys, my group, we go in there and we have the adapters that let you play LAN. And they're very hard to come by. They're very rare, and there's only a couple games that support it. Mario Kart Double Dash is one of them. We actually set that up. That's our setup at MagFest. People come and play that, so you can play. 8 people can be in the same Double Dash setup there. So I have a few of those GameCubes to donate to that whenever the time comes. But I also have them plugged in and active at my house in case if COVID ever ends, I can see a human being again. They can come and enjoy that with me. But yeah, so I do have a lot of GameCubes, and I do want to get into the Metroid Prime series again. I just don't know when, but I haven't given up.
Right on. And yeah, it's you got an endorsement over here. I think it's good, but
well, I trust you, man. You're the reason I started making videos. So if you say it's good, then I have to. If it's worth playing today, I have to give it a shot.
I haven't played it in like 15 years, but anyway, Rudy continues. I loved your discussion about college sports video games, and I was wondering what you thought of the 2K series. To me, 2K was always better and more innovative than the EA offerings both in the college and pro areas. Thanks, and keep up the good work, Rudy Gutierrez. And I think we know your thoughts on the 2K series, since you're a aficionado of NCAA 2K. 2K14, I should say.
Yes, which is an EA game. We should specify, even though it's.
Oh, is he talking about the Sega games?
I think he's talking about 2K, like 2K the developer, because of the.
I got mixed up. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so they made recently. They have the NBA license, and so they made a lot of the NBA 2K and all of that. And I think recently 2K has gotten a lot of flack for some of the stuff that they've been doing. Like, I think they want to now charge $70 for the new NBA 2K, and which people are pushing back on because one, it's a yearly franchise, and no doubt it takes hundreds of people to put these games together, and they're very intense, high graphic fidelity. A lot of work goes into them. Sure, I'm not saying that people deserve less money, but I think it's just the idea that it's a yearly franchise and the upgrades are minimal year to year for the most part.
Yes.
But they're also laden with microtransactions on top of that, and you have to like pay to get your character, your character to 99. You kind of have to pay to do that, I think, or maybe it's that you can pay to do that. So some people can just cheat through the game by doing that. So it's kind of like that mobile game ethics question. It's like, do we let people just pay to dominate, or do you have to just earn it for 9 weeks by tapping a button like a hamster? So I think they've done some things that a lot of people don't really like. I actually haven't played much modern sports games, so I don't really have a good feel for the landscape between EA and 2K in that way. But growing up, I kind of had to just like EA because they made most of the sports games I enjoyed. There was like 989 Studios. I think they made some stuff at the turn of the century for football and that kind of thing. And I got into some of those. But I think the EA formula was just the one I was raised on and the one that I was kind of better at, and that's why I played them. I don't really have another excuse besides that.
Yeah. No, I'm in the exact same boat as you, where I thought 2K meant like I didn't catch the EA part of his email because I thought 2K meant NCAA and that sort of stuff. But yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I don't know that many other sports games that are modern, so I can't really speak on that. I stick to Griffey Baseball for Super Nintendo for sure.
I will say, I think a question or maybe a point that could be derived from this is, how like a lot of the pro sports, confederations or leagues or whatever, like the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, they sort of nowadays they give exclusive licenses to one company, which I think is a huge mistake because there's no competition. Yep. And I know like people that don't like sports games hate to go into a sports store and just see aisles and rows of sports games that have become obsolete within a few months, just cluttering all the shelves. And I hate that too, honestly. Yeah. But without any competition, it's ironic that sports games have no competition, but there's no competition between these companies to make better games or games that people would rather buy. Instead, they get the full licenses and then they can fill them full of microtransactions and milk us all for all they're worth. So I haven't bought a sports game off the shelf since that 2014 NCAA football game that I bought almost 8 years ago at this point. Thank you, Ed O'Bannon, for ruining my adulthood.
Well, that's the thing, is there's no incentive for them to improve these games at all because they dominate the market.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and at least not improve them in like a player-friendly way or like a consumer-friendly way. Like they are beautiful and they do play well. Like there's no doubt that they're, I think 2K11, I played that, and even in 2K11 came out, so it was like 2010 when I played it. I remember my girlfriend at the time coming in the room while I was playing that game, and she was like, "What game are you watching?" And I'm like, "I'm actually playing this." Like, even at that time, it looked like really good. Like, even for basketball, where faces are very important, and the crowd has to look good, and the shorts have to swish and swash and look good. I mean, it looked good then. So they definitely don't skimp on, I guess, the visual aspect of it all, and they make good games. It's just sort of the disregard for the consumer in terms of like, you're really going to charge me more for this than any other game on the market, and I'm going to have to buy it again next year. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I think the game I've heard complained about the most in terms of just cheapness, in terms of just laziness, is the FIFA series. And
right, yeah.
I can't say I have any experience in that, but just based on what I see on Twitter and on Reddit and stuff like that, there's so much cheap nonsense and just laziness of, like goalies, like their heads bending at weird angles so the ball misses their head so the computer can score a goal or something like that. It's just the most wonky, like broken stuff ever. And it does appear that they feel like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because they own the market, and that's really too bad. Because it didn't used to be that way. It used to be, back in my day, it was Joe Montana sports talk football and the Madden series, and we liked it. We loved it. As old man Dana Carvey from SNL.
Well, it's true, man. If you look at a Sega Genesis catalog, which was, I guess, the sports console of the era that we're really tied to, there in 1 year, maybe it was 1994, 1995, there had to be like 10 different NFL licensed football games. I mean, there was the Emmitt Smith one, the Troy Aikman one. I mean, two guys on the same team had their own game. And then like Joe
Sterling
Montana
Sharp,
had a game.
Joe Montana.
There was Quarterback Club, Madden.
Yeah, Quarterback Club was another one that was heavily advertised.
Yeah, and then there was just regular shit like Super Nintendo Pro Football, like just stuff that didn't matter.
NFL football. It's so bad.
ESPN had their own franchises. The ESPN Monday Night Football
with Chris Berman in the studio. Ugh.
Whoop. Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
So I mean, and that you could say maybe maybe it's not great to have that many, but certainly more than one. More than one company making a sports game would be great.
Please. And really, can we just get Sculpture Software to bring back Griffey Baseball? That would just be... Oh, Software Creations. See, I knew I was wrong. Ugh. I'm sorry, Griffey Baseball. I bow to the temple of Griffey Baseball and beg your forgiveness. By the way, you know that game did not come out in Europe or in Japan? It just came out in North America?
I could see Europe, but Japan's weird.
Yeah.
That's a big baseball market.
Yeah, it's a big baseball market, and Japan owned I don't know if they owned the Mariners at that point, but...
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
But it was
and plus, I guess Ichiro wasn't there, so they didn't have like their athlete tie-in, like...
Yeah, Ichiro was about 7 years away, so...
Jesus, and he played for 30 years. We're old.
He's one of my all-time favorites, that guy.
Ichiro just celebrated his 95th birthday yesterday. That's how old we are.
That's the thing. He's one of those guys, you look at him, he could very easily pass for like 30 or 60.
Yeah, I know.
He's one of those guys that like defies time.
Yeah. I mean, he did play until like his early 40s, right?
Oh, yeah. He was like 43 or 44 when he retired, but...
Yeah, that's insane.
If you look at him now,
50
it's
years
like,
ago.
Is that guy 30 or is he like... A great grandfather. Like, I don't know.
He's very timeless. Yeah. He's a time traveler. Speaking of a time traveler, speaking of time in general, coming up next is someone who just honestly popped on our radar out of the blue. Actually, popped into my comments feed out of the blue. He has speedrun. I don't know what the past tense of speedrun is. He has spedran. He has spedran over 150 different games, mostly from the NES, the best system out there. And in almost half of those, he has the speedrun record. And he'll be performing a couple of games live at Summer Games Done Quick here in about 1 month, and that'll be virtual, of course. But please stick around for WhiteHat94. Okay, good evening, Mr. Hat, WhiteHat94. Thanks for jumping on here with us. We really appreciate it. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How are you all doing?
Good. It's very hot where I'm at. I'm sure, Alex, you're right on the equator. How are things in Albuquerque?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's cooled off a bit the past couple of days. It's a cool, crisp 95 degrees, which is a respite from the 100, 102 that we've had to deal with the past few days. So.
Back to Mr. Hat here. So, to whet the audience to you somewhat, you recently posted on Twitter that you would be once again performing for Games Done Quick, this time, of course, virtually. You've been speedrunning for a long time. What is it like doing your thing in front of so many people at those events?
Well, it's quite a bit different from normally when you're just doing like personal best attempts. It's just me on my couch with however many people are watching my stream. Usually not that many. But yeah, it's a whole nother level of stress. If you're actually like on the stage, they have there's makeup people they do you before, and
really,
wow.
not a whole lot, just to get rid of the shine.
Oh, I suppose, yeah, that makes sense.
That's still something I didn't even think was part of that. That's a step above. I thought it was just
that's a more recent thing within the past year or two. They have an actual makeup person on hand.
That's crazy. So when you're getting ready to go, so you get a schedule. I guess there's no schedule yet for this upcoming GDQ, but you know the games that you're going to be doing, right?
Yeah, the schedule is actually already out. Yeah.
Okay. So what's it like leading up to when you're getting ready to go out there? Are you pretty nervous, or is it you've done this so many times, your muscle memory is on point, you have no hesitation that anything could possibly go wrong? I mean, I'm sure things can, but what's your stress level like?
I'm nervous every single time, yeah.
Do the nerves stay the whole time, or when you get started you kind of get locked in and you forget about all that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So it's you have to like weather like the initial storm of like there's major nerves for like once you get through like the first level. Like I've done Mega Man. Like once you're through like Cutman stage, like you're usually pretty relaxed at that point. Well, not relaxed, but not super nervous.
So I've always been curious. A lot of in most of the speedruns that you watch on GDQs, there's always, of course, the couch team. Are those people that are typically in your posse, or are they just people that know the game also and can provide some commentary? And I've seen some of this in some of the videos that you've posted, and we did a little bit of homework on you before you came on. Sometimes you're having to commentate your own way through the games as you play them, and that has to be, that's not something that you're typically doing on your Twitch stream. So does that add, I guess, an extra layer of, distraction to what you're doing?
Yeah, so the couch behind you, it's picked by the runner, so you can either have like your friends or other people that run the game. I think for all of my runs, I've done commentary on my own, which is a mistake in my, I would say, because it's really hard to do good commentary and play well at the same time. Like
I bet it seems to me like it would be like singing and playing guitar at the same time, which I can't do either. But if I had to do both, it would be hilariously terrible.
Yeah. Do you feel pressure to be like entertaining and funny while you're doing that, or are you just trying to explain what you're doing?
For me, it's kind of more just explain. I don't know that I go for the super funny that I have that, but
that's tough, man. So Summer Games Done Quick is is coming up on August 26th and it's running through the 23rd. It looks like
16th through the 23rd.
Oh, I'm sorry, 26th. That would not make sense unless it goes for an entire year. But you'll be doing Micro Mages, which is very interesting, and Contra Rebirth. Did you have other games that you wanted to do, and they just selected those two for you, or how does the game selection process work with events like that?
Yeah, so you can submit up to 5 games, and I think you can submit a couple of categories for each game. So the other ones I submitted Project Blue, which is another awesome NES homebrew. I submitted Chronos Twins DX, which is a WiiWare game, which is really interesting. And I think I had one more throwaway in there that I was just like, I just threw something in.
So when you're submitting these, are you submitting, I guess, some like videos of you actually completing it, or what's the verification process like for that?
Yeah, you have to put. I just always submit my PB runs. I know other people will like play their PB run and then do like additional commentary over top of it. I've always just submitted my straight PB run. And
I guess they treat it as like an audition, maybe like, hey, I can also engage an audience and do this at the same time.
Kind of like, I mean, I've never done additional commentary on top, so maybe because I've gone in before, like it's not as important. Like, maybe if you're like unknown and you had great commentary, that could like pull you through.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
I was gonna say they probably know who you are at this point, so they're just like, oh, this is what he wants to do this time. We're cool with that. That works. So, and as far as Micro Mages goes, that is a relatively new game. Would you call that game easier or more difficult than other retro games? How does it measure up in terms of difficulty, in terms of speed runability, I guess, too?
Micro Mages, that came out, it's a pretty much a brand new NES game. It came out in 2019. How it compares, I don't know. They're all different. It has like one trick in it called the Superfly, where you can fly up with the bird power up, and that it's like a 2-frame trick. So you have, was it 1/30th of a second, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And depending on how many of those you want to do or go for, that elevates the level.
One thing that bugs me about that game, I shouldn't say bugs me, but the thing that stands out about Micro Mages is how small your character is. Was there like any sort of adjustment period for you when playing that? Because your character is tiny, especially compared to some of the other stuff you play. Does that factor into anything at all?
Not so much. I actually play on like a close to 30-inch CRT, so it's usually pretty fine.
So you're fine.
And I also beta tested the game, so I had
Okay.
nice.
a
Okay.
little more experience from that also.
What kind of CRT do you have?
Oh, it's a old Panasonic, big curved CRT.
How much does it weigh, do you think? Like 400 pounds?
Yeah, probably 150 to 200. They're
God.
monsters.
See, I really wish I still had mine. I had like a Sony Trinitron. It was like 27 inches, but I had moved 3 times in 5 years, and I was just like, I am so sick of this thing. So I just had to give it away. But yeah, now I've been in the same spot now for almost 6 years, and I really wish I still had. I just have a tiny little viewing monitor at this point, but yeah, I am super jealous of anyone that has that level of CRT-ness, I guess. So we do have to ask, what, in your opinion, is the hardest game that you've got the number 1 speed record for?
I don't know. See, that's like a tricky question because I could say like speedrun wise or like overall perception, like casually for what the game is.
What's both? Do you have a different answer for each?
Yeah. For like casually wise, I mean, it has to be Holy Diver.
Nice. We were
exactly
taking bets
what I
on
was
that
looking
earlier.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like, I don't know widely, but it's in like top 5 for what people say is the hardest to beat NES game.
Which sucks because it's so cool. Everything about it's
Yeah.
so cool, but it's so hard. I had and I've seen you just destroy it through your speed run, but I was using like emulation and save states, and there was several just to see what the rest of the game looked like, and there were parts I couldn't get past with infinite save states for like 30 minutes just doing the same thing over and over, and I was like, my God, how? So yeah, I definitely agree with that one. So that's your casual answer, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, with Holy Diver, there's an input glitch in that game that if you press any 2 buttons, like A and B, start in A, a direction in A, one of them guaranteed gets eaten by the game. And the first one,
One of the inputs?
yeah, one of the 2 inputs will get eaten.
Okay.
So, and the first one to get eaten is the jump button. So if you're standing like on the edge and you go to hit right and jump, it is gonna just hold right and you're just gonna walk off.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
That's useful information right there.
That is, yeah.
But it's consistent, so once you know about it, then it's your fault.
Yeah, so I guess my thing is like for a new game like Micro Mages, and how much knowledge is built over time in the speedrunning community about a specific game. Everyone builds on each other's concepts and tricks and all of that. For a new game like Micro Mages, is it kind of the Wild West when it comes to finding new tricks and avenues for speedrunning?
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of my favorite parts about speedrunning is coming up with new routes and like routing games out, which is why gravitating to like homebrew games, because nobody has run them yet when they come out.
Right, yeah. Yeah, interesting. I was going to ask about some of the other games that you speedrun as well, because, and folks can go do this, you can go to speedrun.com/user/WhiteHat94 and get the full resume here of speedruns. And I guess, is this all of the ones that have, I guess, ranked, so to speak? Is that how you would qualify the things on this website?
Yeah, versus other people that have submitted. So there's like, there could be runs on like Nico, the Japanese, it's like kind of like a Japanese YouTube. There's runs that are like buried on there that people might not know about, but for people that just submit them themselves.
So Alex and I were talking about this before you came on. We were going through this list, just oohing and awing at all of the great times on some of these games. But the thing I noticed about a lot of the games is that it's not ones that I would consider maybe very popular games, or not even ones that are very commonly speedrun. Some of them are, but a lot of them are, especially for me, I consider them to be of the more obscure or difficult NES games, like Holy Diver you've already mentioned. Stuff like Chiller is not very common. Even Smash TV is considered hard. Blues Brothers is one that I don't think anybody really enjoys per se. So do you gravitate toward the games that you think, okay, not a lot of people are playing this, I can really make my mark on this game?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so much more fun for me to come up with my own strats and then exactly leave my mark on the game. That's way more interesting than picking up a game that already has like a route defined.
Well, one of the games listed here is Stanley: The Search for Dr. Livingstone, and that is a game I mentioned to Trav that I think, like, hey, this is a goofy game. I think needs more information out there in the universe. And he did a great video on it a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, here we have the number one any percent run on it at 33 minutes, or at least 32 minutes 58 seconds. Trav, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, incredible. I do think a big part of that game is just figuring out where the hell to go. So
I know, right?
Once you know that, you can really shave off about 5 hours. So that's pretty. I mean, from my point of view, anyway, I'm not. I'm definitely nowhere near a speedrunner. So that's incredible, man. A lot of these times are just insane. So let's take it way back. So what games did you grow up with? When did you think like, hey, I want to learn? I want to get into the speedrunning community. What did you grow up with? Give us a little bit of history into how you got here.
So we had NES growing up. I think my brother had a Master System, so we rarely played that, but NES, Mega Man's, Mario, like Turtles, usually like the usual suspects.
Right.
Was there one game you gravitated toward back then, or was it just everything?
I mean, I would play like most of the stuff we had, but yeah, one of the games I've speedrun, TNC2, Thriller Safari. That was actually the first game that I ended up speedrunning, which is a game I had as a kid.
Nice. Yeah, that game is already kind of a higher paced game as is, so I can definitely see how getting faster at it would be sort of a natural progression to playing it.
Yeah, I was like, well, I can already beat this game, so this is probably a good one to just start with. And I think there were no runs or one run at the time.
Do you have that record now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I just Control F'd your extremely long list that is not alphabetized. It's hard to find anything in this thing. So
yeah, seriously, you gotta you're scrolling for it's like Tom Hanks's Wikipedia page. Like you keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. I gotta ask though, do you ever just nope out of a game as you're practicing, either because the game just sucks, or maybe because of something else, or it's just like, oh, this isn't a good fit, or what would be a reason if that were to happen, like why you would stop practicing a game?
If it's just not fun or not interesting. I'm trying to think. There's at least one game that I tried to learn it like 3 different times, and I was just like, it just was not happening.
Just because it wasn't fun?
I think so. I can't remember what the game was. There's one game I can remember, Thunder and Lightning on the NES, which is like kind of like Arkanoid. And I was doing runs for it, and it's just not very good.
So just a lot of tedium and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was tedious, and it was hard. It was hard to beat. So I got to the final level once, I think, and then I was like, so somebody else can have this free record.
Let this be someone else's problem. So I have to ask because on your list here, you've currently got the 41st ranked time for Ninja Gaiden, which in and of itself is really freaking good. I don't everybody knows how hard that game is, and it's a really popular speedrun game for the NES. So getting 41st is impressive enough, but I'm just curious, when did you decide that, okay, I'm done with this one, I want to move on to something else, and I'm curious if you'll ever come back to Ninja Gaiden and try and improve your time.
I think Ninja Gaiden is probably actually the game that got me kind of interested in speedrunning.
Oh.
Originally, I think because it's another one that's known as a really hard game, which is something else that can draw me towards a game, if it has that reputation. And I watched Sinister One's really old tutorial, and ended up I could consistently beat it. And then after I started speedrunning, I came back to it. I think my Ninja Gaiden PB is like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, 4 years old.
Yeah, it's it. I think I just was tired of the game. I wanted to. I think I might have moved on to Ninja Gaiden 2. Oh no, that was way after.
But just so the audience knows, you beat Ninja Gaiden in 12 minutes and 30 seconds. just bonkers. But yeah, no, that's 41st. So I'm guessing first is like 11 minutes 58 seconds or something like that. Like it can't be that much different.
11:38.
Oh, see, he knows it off the top of his head. I love it. That's great. Yeah. So it's like there's only so much you can do to get that much better. It's like, well, it's time to move on to something else, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of randomness in that game. Any of the enemies that throw hammers, they're random. And then the final bosses are just a pain to get a really good time. You have to have really good mashing and be really accurate.
It's just a matter of getting lucky at that point when you're dealing with randomness, right?
Yeah, I think like the super top runners, the guy that has the record, his name is Arcus. I believe he knows the game so well. He can play it like so consistently that a lot of the RNG is taken out, but it's still super, super insane.
I gotta ask, do you watch Summoning Salt on YouTube?
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
So I just watched the Ninja Gaiden video that he did where it talked about Arcus in that speedrun. So yeah, that's extremely interesting. I mean, a lot of those stories and how those world records progress are extremely interesting to me and fascinating. So we're in about 15 minutes here, and 15 minutes might be the longest you've ever done anything, according to this list. But I do want to ask, how long do you? Because I mean, again, these games, a lot of these that I'm scrolling through, I mean, it can be as quick as 2 minutes. Some of them are 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But certainly, you're practicing getting it down. Like you're practicing hours at a time. What's a typical practice session like for you? How long do you usually go, and when do you call it quits?
I think it depends, like game to game. I learn pretty quick. So if the game is like fairly straightforward, I can learn it in maybe a couple hours. It depends. If it's like a 5-minute run, I could learn it in like a couple hours. But then there's like main one I'm thinking of is the Lone Ranger, which is an awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
That one I practiced for a full week before doing runs. It's a 57-minute game.
Wow, so that would have to be one of your longer speed runs, right?
Yep, that is the longest run I've done.
Gotcha.
Dang, yeah. That one's got a little bit more to it, I would think. It's a little bit, if I remember correctly, Lone Ranger is a little bit like kind of like Legend of the Mystical Ninja, like a Goemon kind of a format where you're going into stores and getting information and triggering events and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's also like a 3D shoot 'em up component too.
That's where you're chasing the carriage.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of cool stuff in that game.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good, yeah. And yeah, by the way, the record you broke on that one was 15 years ago. And the one you beat RD Runner, and you beat him by a little more than a minute, and that record was held for 15 years. Do you ever get mad when somebody beats one of your records, and do you want to go back and like try and reclaim it?
Yeah, it 100% on whatever the game is. There are certain games that I will probably heavily defend, but there's other ones
kind of like feel possessive of.
I mean, nobody owns a record, so I won't say that. It's the record. It's not your record.
That's very diplomatically phrased.
But yeah, there's games that I will always come back to if I feel like it.
What are some of those games?
Thrilla, because that was my first one.
Right.
See, like if somebody beat Lone Ranger, I don't know if I would come back to that because it's such a long run.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a tough one.
And there's a 4-frame trick like 24 minutes in that if you miss it, you lose like 45 seconds.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Which is how I saved so much time over that old run.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that makes sense. So like a lot of the ones that maybe if you were one of the first records that landed on it, or maybe if it's something you maybe did at a Games Done Quick and you've performed it, you kind of feel like you have, not, and again, like you said, you don't really own the record, but you still feel like it's kind of part of you, part of your resume. You'll go back and defend your honor, so to speak, on some of those.
Yeah, like if I've put in a certain amount of work into the game and I want to, keep pushing it. Like Rygar, that's another one.
That's a tough one. Has there ever been any kind of new information that's come out? Like, say, for example, you just said Rygar. Say maybe somebody finds, like, oh, you can save a couple seconds here by introducing a new technique. Have you ever gone back and done a new run based on new information within the past few years? Are you, on that point, are you looking for new information on games like that where you can find an edge, where you can shave off a few seconds?
Yeah, actually, was it like a month ago? Ninja Crusaders. I don't know if either of you have played that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
I'm familiar.
Kind of like a Ninja Gaiden meets Contra.
Right.
Yeah, there was a new runner came up with a strat that saved a second and a half in a stage. So I came back in one night and added that to my PB, put it in the record.
Sometimes that's all it takes is just a second and a half. And yeah, sure enough, you're at number 1 for for a pacifist run where you don't even kill any enemies. Oh my god. And then the 2-player co-op run, you're first in all 3 categories. Pretty crazy. So are there like what's your main resource for stuff like that? Is it just talking online to people? Are there particular forums you go to?
So like back in the day, there was a site called Speed Demos Archive, and that's a forum. It's still active. Well, not really active, but there's still people there.
Yeah.
Most people moved on to speedrun.com, and each game has its own like forum on it, so people can talk in that. Or there's like an NES Runners Discord where people can talk about strats in there, or individual like communities can have Discords for their own game.
Right on. So you kind of again you just kind of popped on my radar specifically because you commented on a couple Nest Friend videos, and kind of hilariously I stepped in proverbial dog shit because you said I don't know, I probably made some comment about how I thought Rambo was kind of finicky and hard, and I said there are people with knife only world records of this, so it's just a matter of getting good. And you were like, knife only world records, you say? And I thought you were just some random guy. I was like, yeah, man, they exist, stranger man. They do exist. Trust me. And you were like, actually, I have that record. And I was like, oh, snap. So how often, especially watching my videos, do you, number one, cringe at the footage when I'm dying doing something stupid and I'm like, the game's hard to understand and stuff like that? Or do you just kind of understand that you're on this echelon of technical NES prowess that a lot of people just don't understand, and we're enjoying games in a different way than you are?
It doesn't bother me how other people play. I'm an NES fan in general, so people talking about NES games, I'm about that.
I just thought that was really funny. I was like, oh my god, because then I looked up your name and I was like, I just kept scrolling for like 30 minutes at all your speedrun records, and I was like, boy, I feel stupid. This is really cool. So yeah, I definitely have a lot to learn. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But I was building out that question to ask, obviously you're very prolific within the NES community. Is there anyone that's close to you in terms of number of records or number of games that they've speedrun on that system, on the NES?
Yeah, there's several people. One of my good buddies, Toad22484, who has we have that Ninja Crusaders 2-player record together. Yep. Yeah, he is a total monster. He might have more records than me. I'm not sure. But he's had some
his
prolific
scroll
ones.
Bar is a lot smaller. And he goes back 13 years. Jeez.
Yeah,
wow.
he has been playing a real long time.
Yeah.
We have to base how good you are in the speedrun community on how small your scroll bar is on speedrun.com.
He's got the Kabuki. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's 6th with Kabuki Quantum Fighter. What are your favorites, Trav?
Oh, I do like that game. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another runner, NES Cardinality. He has, at one point, I think he had the record in all the Dragon Warriors. Yeah,
Oh man,
he has a huge list also.
that's got to be tough to speedrun something like that. I'm assuming just based on your catalog here that style of game is probably not something you'd ever go toward just because of the amount of time it would take.
Yeah, that, and I never really played RPGs like when I was growing up. Like it was all platformers, so hey, that's what I'm good at. What a surprise.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're really good at them.
One record I find really interesting on Toad's page is he is 4th with Blades of Steel. Now, I would think to get the faster time in Blades of Steel, you want to win every game 1-0. Because you don't want to waste time with the goalie getting mad and, all that sort of stuff, all the celebrations after every goal. So you just want to score once and then just play defense.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly run.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, you score once and then you camp behind the goal, and then I think there's a certain spot where the computer just keeps running into your goalie and getting taken out. So you just camp there till the time runs out.
That's really funny. I'm gonna try that. That's actually really funny.
I could probably watch a number of your videos and just have a ton of questions about like how did you come up with this idea, or like what possessed you to even try this. But is a lot of the stuff like glitching through walls and a lot of the stuff that, casual folks like me only see during Games Done Quick when I'm, watching those marathons, and I'm like, who even comes up with that? Is a lot of that crowdsourced, or like, does the speedrun community come together and do that? Or, are you able to find a lot of that stuff just on your own through trial and error?
Yeah, I think it's all of them. I think at this point, I'm pretty good at like finding glitches. 'Cause I mean, however many games I've run, over like 150, I've learned glitches for all those games. I can apply those to like a new game, like a homebrew. Like I do some beta testing for homebrew people, and like since I have such a knowledge of different glitches, I can try and apply those to new games.
Oh, okay.
So how do you go looking for those? Like, do you look at the code itself?
No, I have no idea how to do that. I just mess around.
You just screw around. So
and make sure you're always recording, even if
Yeah.
you're practicing.
What's like your intuitive sense to find something like that? It's probably hard to put into words, but
Yeah, I just try like everything.
just everything that is available to you at the moment.
And yeah, like I have like figurative like encyclopedia of glitches of other games, so I can try and apply those. Yeah.
Does it help to know like who made the game? So like if you're playing a Konami game, you're like, well, I played a Konami game once where I did this. Does it work like that sort of? Or is it just like any NES game could have this capability just because of the way that the architecture is?
I don't know that I really go by the company. I mean, Capcom games have a lot of zipping, which is where you get inside the wall and then the game tries to push you out super fast.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I always wanted to know when it comes to speedrunning and like recording official stuff, like, okay, for speedrun.com at least, is there any kind of authentication process? Like, does footage need to be recorded in a certain way or in a certain format? Or how does that work? Where you're like, hey, here's something I want to submit that I just recorded. Can it be disqualified because you didn't do something right? Or how does that part of it work?
I would say it would depend. Like, I think the higher up on the leaderboard you want to get, like, the higher the burden of proof is on the runner.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To provide like, you can't, if someone submits like a world record time on like a board that I moderate and like there's no sound on it, like that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, our friend Billy Mitchell has proven that, yes, cheating exists in all forms of gaming. Is that something you've seen or that you've dealt with yourself? Or, is that a thing within the speedrunning community by any chance?
Yeah, I've exposed a couple of cheaters.
Good for you.
In
Hell yeah.
a couple of Ninja Gaiden runs, actually.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Like,
so you moderate a board, so that means like when videos come in, you're actually like you watch the whole thing and see what you think.
Well, I mean, it depends. If it's pretty slow, I might not watch the whole thing, but
right,
yeah,
of course.
like that same thing. The higher up the run, the more you got to pay attention to it.
Wow. So I guess maybe not to get into like all the hot goss, but how can you tell, like with the, maybe with the couple that you found, what were some giveaways that they were fake?
Yeah, there was an old Ninja Gaiden one. It was an emulator run, which you have to be more careful with emulator runs because you can play movies back. Like you can play pre-recorded inputs.
They were seriously playing movies back? Ugh.
Yeah. So another Ninja Gaiden runner and mod, he had actually saved their whole stream from those attempts. And from the start of the stream to that actual run, they were doing different strats within like that hour. So they were doing like vastly different movements in the air quote PB.
Jeez. So they didn't cover their tracks very well. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, the run stayed on the board for a long time, and then I eventually messaged them on YouTube, and they admitted it.
That's all it took? You just called them out, and they were like...
Well, I compiled a video of comparisons of their strats within that stream, and I posted all my evidence to them, and they were like, yep.
Wow.
Good job.
That's cool. Yeah, man. That's awesome. That's... You being like... not saying you're like the super no fun speedrun police, but like that's almost as cool as getting records is sort of being able to like inspect and interrogate everyone's submissions, because you do kind of want to keep this pure for yourself. You're a big part of it, so it's important to keep it that way, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's a silly thing. Who can play the video game the fastest? But I mean, why are you gonna cheat it?
I don't think it's that silly. I play them slow as hell. I think that's sillier than what you're doing. So,
yeah, man, right on. I think that's.
I was going to say there was another thing I wanted to point out. So I looked at your YouTube channel, and it's sort of a mismatch of some of your gaming stuff and then some other stuff. And recently, you posted one of your runs, like physical running there, and a recent one was like you ran a mile in almost 5 minutes. And I just got to know, is is there anything that you don't do fast?
I don't know.
Do you walk slow? Do you
I think I do actually kind of walk slow.
Now that you mentioned it.
There's got to be something that you don't do just blazingly fast. Evidently running's not one of them though. Was it like 5 minutes 17 seconds or something like that?
Yeah, that was a funny one. I had a PB from high school. It was several years ago. It was 5:25, and then like out of the blue, I was like, I want to see what I can do. And I, with no watch, I did like a 5:35, and I was like, I guess we should take this PB down.
Dang.
Man, that speedrunner brain, it just doesn't go away. It goes everywhere with you.
It's a part of you, yeah.
No doubt. But that's pretty cool, though. I kind of laughed because the time that it took you to set up the camera, go down, stretch, run the whole mile, come back and turn off the camera, I still couldn't have finished the mile. So pretty impressive stuff, to say the least.
Yeah, well, there's nothing else to do right now but stay in shape, so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
True that. So we have some listener questions. Alex, do you want to get started on those?
Well, here's the thing. The champion of burgers, the current champion of burgers, Burger Champ, he sent us like a big list of questions. But the thing is that they're all good questions, and they're all well thought out and well phrased and everything. So I'm getting to another Burger Champ question, and I'm not doing this to taunt you, Trav, because we know Burger Mania 2021 is right around the corner.
As soon as this lifts, I'm going to go challenge Burger Champ. We're going to go to a nice little sit down diner. We're going to go mano y mano, burgery burger, and I'm taking him down.
I hope you do. I'm tired of these questions. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm going to show this guy. So he says, I know that tutorial sections are more of a recent gaming construct, although I've always argued that Super Mario Bros. 1-1 is a perfect tutorial. And he says, I find that some tutorials are a slog, and some are so subtle that you barely notice them. What games do you think do tutorial sections the best, and what are the worst?
I have a candidate for best. I liked, I think it was Portal 2. It was really funny, and that kind of kept me engaged.
Swear to God, I was going to say the first Portal game, because it's
maybe it was the first.
Yeah, no, it really is both of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. Obviously talking to Wheatley, he's hilarious. There's one where he tells you to do something and you do what the computer says, but the thing that you do is different. I think he wants you to duck, but the button that it tells you to push, you jump, and he goes, "Oh, look, you've jumped. You didn't duck," or something like that. But that's just kind of funny to me. It has a nice sense of humor. It's the player's not going to get confused for the rest of the game because we put this one little joke in.
Yeah.
So that helps it along. For the worst, nothing really stands out, but anything where, and this is kind of counterintuitive to the way a tutorial should work, but if I can't skip it, I immediately hate it. Even if I need it, because if I play it again and I have to oh yeah, I know how to do stuff. I don't, I hate sitting through them when I don't want to. So the unskippable tutorials that aren't sort of baked into the game structure are the ones that bother me the most, probably. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. What about you, Mr. White Hat?
As far as speedrunning goes, a really annoying one is Little Samson.
Oh yeah,
because you have to play through all 4 characters, and there's a pattern with you have to fight the dragon at the end of that if he gives you the bad pattern, you lose 3 seconds.
Ooh.
So that's close to a third of the run is just those 4 stages.
Oh really? That's crazy. I remember when I first played that game, I thought that was it. I was like, I beat it. Oh wait, no, the game's just starting, isn't it? There's more to this.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
For me, any sports game that's here's how you hit, here's how you pitch. I can't think of any on the top of my head, but it's listen, I can figure it out. These games take forever. I just want to do whatever, get out of my way. The recent Madden or not, I shouldn't say recent, but 2000, I think it was 2009 Madden had some super annoying. It wasn't even a tutorial. It was just here's how franchise mode works, and it's just get out of my way, please. But yeah, it was.
I think the Blitz games do that too, NFL Blitz. If you played that, anytime that if you played the game, if you just played an exhibition game, it would interrupt you constantly to be this is how you tackle. Yeah, I know.
One other one, for the first time I played Advanced Wars, I didn't think the tutorial was skippable. I thought I had to go through all 13 stages and complete all of them, which takes hours. And it wasn't until after the fact, it's oh, you can just scroll down this menu and go to skip. And I'm like, really? Okay, well, that would have been useful information a few hours ago, but yeah.
Those games are addictive anyway.
Oh, yeah, they're great. I love those games.
Cool. Next up, Brad from Brooklyn. He says, in 30 years, do you think retro gaming as a term will include everything from Atari to PlayStation 5? Will we start to forget the older games, or will some endure?
I think we're going to get divided into categories, further categories at that point. We're going to go, 90s retro. We're going to go 2000s retro. It's good. And I think people will get more familiar with generations, 5th generation, 4th generation, that sort of stuff. So I think it will be considered retro gaming, but I just don't think it will. Right now, I think we're at the precipice of because right now it's kind of weird because it's is GameCube and Dreamcast, is that retro gaming? And I feel kind of weird calling that stuff retro because, it's just different. It just feels different than everything else.
Yeah, I agree. I like, maybe at some point, they do with cars, there would be the term classic and vintage and all of that.
There
but
you go.
I also agree with you. I think breaking it down a little bit by what the games actually did makes more sense. There's of course the bit generation, and then there's
there you go. Yeah.
What you've called the adolescent polygon, or whatever you call adolescent, polygon puberty or something.
Yeah, it's video games going through puberty. That's what N64,
PlayStation 1, N64,
yeah. Saturn.
Yeah. So that's a whole thing in and of itself. Then you have, I guess, the now it can drive age, which was right around the PS2. I'd let that get a license, and then we have the more sophisticated graphics. Beyond that, though, I don't know. I don't know what in 30 years, what does gaming look like? I mean, does it? I mean, what?
It's going to be all over the place, I think, because we're gonna, indie developers are gonna have more and more resources. So indie games are gonna be, right now for the most part, it's we're seeing stuff that's Metroidvania, 2D side-scrolling stuff. Like, how many of those are there? Like Guacamelee and Hollow Knight and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we're going to see more and more advanced stuff from those folks. But the AAA games, I have no freaking clue what those are going to look like. Who knows?
Yeah, dude. You just unplug something from the back of your head, like in the Matrix, and then plug it back in when you want to play it again. What about you, White Hat? Do you have an opinion on these qualifiers for what's retro and not?
Yeah, that's weird. It's got to be like all subjective because there's kids that the GameCube was their first thing. So is that retro? It's retro for them, right?
Yeah, true.
That's like 15 years ago. More than that, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it really depends, like, person to person, too. You're right, yeah. Like, what do they consider? Yeah, I don't know.
20 years ago was GameCube. Don't tell me that. Ugh. So old. God.
You did say that you did start a sentence that said the recent Madden, and then you stopped and corrected it to the 2009 Madden. So, yes, you might be old.
Maybe. That's big if true. Big if true.
All right. Well, I guess that does it for those listener questions. So thank you, Burger Champ and Brad from Brooklyn, for submitting those. And I guess we'll sign off the show here now. White Hat, can you maybe give everybody a hint as to when you'll be playing Contra Rebirth and Micro Mages at Summer Games Done Quick next month?
Yeah, the Micro Mages is going to be that Monday. I think it's the 17th at like 8 a.m. And Contra is at like 5 a.m. on Friday, I think.
Whoa.
Oh, man.
Okay, I got to get up early for... I want to see the Micro Mages one for sure.
And I mean, there's always they're always save the VOD, so even if you don't catch them live, you can just catch it after.
Right on, yeah. Cool. Well, everyone be sure to check that out. And, of course, donate if you can. And I guess that's been another episode of the Drunk Friend Podcast. You can reach out to us at drunkfriendpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions.
And if you'd simply like to help out the show, remember to rate and review us wherever you listen.
Yes, please do that. We're on Twitter as well. I'm at Trav Plays Games. Alex is, of course, at SNES Drunk, and you can catch White Hat on Twitter at WhiteHat94.
As usual, we want to give our shout-out to Coolor for the podcast music. That song you heard at the beginning of the podcast, and what you'll hear later as this podcast concludes, is called Electric Star Bounce, and you can find a link to more of his music on the Buzzsprout podcast page.
Right on. Be sure to catch us all on YouTube, and thanks for listening.
And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Cheers.
But hold on, everybody. We have one more interview coming up. It's very important. Hey, don't go anywhere yet. I know we already said cheers and all that other stuff, but listen. We have another interview coming up. A very important guest has dropped into the Drunk Friend podcast. Alex is going to take it from here. I'll catch you next week, but Alex, hopefully you've got this one. I'm going to peace out. Take it away.
All right, let me introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Lily. She is a world-famous gamer. And she is the niece of Pearl, a.k.a. The Pearl, my girlfriend, who you may know. And listen, Lily, I got to ask you, what game is it that you've been playing out there in the living room for the past hour and a half?
I've been playing Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know if you can hear me. But
if it shows up on there, then they can hear you. This isn't live.
I gotta project my voice.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay. The game I've been playing out there for the past couple, maybe hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, is Rainbow Six Siege by Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy's Six Siege? Something like that.
Yeah, Tom Clancy's not the game developer.
Oh.
He's like the author of the books that the games are based on.
Oh.
I don't know who develops the games. Here, let me pull up a picture of Tom Clancy for you so you can see what he looks like.
Is he still alive?
I honestly don't know. Did he die not too long? He did die a few years ago.
Gosh.
So there he is. Yeah, that's Tom Clancy.
Wow.
So yeah, is that who you thought that would look like?
Nope.
Nope. Absolutely not. Okay. So yeah. That's he wrote the books that are like these adventure stories that are based in like military stuff, and it's like, yeah, so they turn those into games, and that's what you've been playing.
Yeah.
What do you like about them?
I like that you have to have strategy and you can't just like go in there and like, oh, I'm just gonna kill these.
You can't just be Rambo.
Yeah, you have to have just a little bit of strategy, but you have to focus on the game mainly. You have to get into the game.
You have to know the map too, right?
Oh yeah,
How many maps are there?
There's like maybe over 10, honestly.
So, do you have a favorite map?
Right now, I really like Villa, and my very favorite is Clubhouse.
Why's that? Because it's more closed.
Oh yeah, it's smaller, and that's like that map is the easiest map, I'd say, out of all of them. It's easy. The format of the map is easy to learn, and
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because a lot of those games, like what I'm used to seeing you playing was battle royale stuff, like like Fortnite,
Yeah.
and that stuff is the same map every time practically.
Oh yeah.
And you just know the island,
Uh-huh.
so it must be nice to get to learn all these other maps.
Oh yeah.
Instead of like the same area over and over. While that area may be very big, it's like it gets kind of old.
Oh yeah, definitely. You in a type of game like that, you definitely need different maps.
So
Lots of different maps.
What other games are you playing?
I like Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Zombies, preferably.
Zombies?
Yeah, zombies.
They have a zombies version.
Uh-huh.
So do you have to shoot them in the head?
Yep.
For them to die?
Well, it's better to shoot them in the head. It kills them faster.
Do they still come after you after you shoot them in the head?
It depends on what wave you are.
How much of the head they take off?
Oh yeah. Depends if your gun is packer punched, like upgraded. You have to have if you want to do good in zombies, you have to keep upgrading your gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you upgrade your gun in that game? Do you just find stuff?
Oh yeah, you have to unlock different doors to get to which is called the packer punch. You get packer punch, and when you get packer punch, you can keep packer punching it to make it stronger. It gives you different abilities like Thunderwall. If you shoot the zombies, it makes the other zombies around them like kind of and they die too.
Really?
Yeah.
They all freak out?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's one. Are there any other game modes there, or is it just you just do the zombie thing?
There's for Black Ops 3 there's multiplayer zombies.
Is there capture the flag? Do you ever do
no, but for Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Oh yeah. I play that one a lot too.
That's what I used to play when I was younger, because it's team based and you get to yell at your teammates for failing.
Oh yeah.
And
you knew he was there.
That's what I miss most about like team combat stuff with my old tech school friends, was just being like, I remember one time when I was playing Counter-Strike, and that was kind of like what you're playing now, where you set the bomb.
Yeah.
And then you run away. I didn't know how to set the bomb.
Yeah.
I had my key. I was playing with keyboard and mouse, and my mouse settings and my keyboard settings were all messed up because I just got there.
Yeah.
And I just set up my stuff, and they were like, "Alex, set up the bomb. What's wrong with you?" And it was a whole house of people like screaming at me.
That's how it is for Siege. Like people stay quiet on their mics, but if you're doing something wrong, they're like, "Wait, what are you doing?" They're behind you. They'll unmute their mics to tell you that.
The bomb. So it's nice to hear things haven't changed very much over the years, because that's something I can relate to. Mm-hmm. So, and it should be pointed out that you're playing Xbox One. You're playing Xbone.
Oh yeah, Xbone.
Yeah, Xbone. That's what it stands for. But yeah, why don't you play PS4? Do you feel? Let me ask you this: do you feel like an allegiance towards Xbox One versus PlayStation 4, or versus Nintendo Switch? Do you care?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people do care, and there's a lot of things like, you're this if you play Xbox, and this if you. But honestly, I like them both. But I do like the way the controller feels for the Xbox One.
I gotta agree with that. I do like the Xbox controller a lot better. they've done a really nice job with that over the years. But,
Oh, yeah.
But that is a thing, though, at your school, where people... That
Yes,
blows my mind,
yeah.
because that was a thing at my school with Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and this was 20 years ago. And people were crazy. But the thing is those games had much different elements.
Oh, yeah.
But these systems are, like... There's not that much different.
Yeah. And Siege took me a while. Like, I play it, like, almost every day. Really, it's taken me a while to get where I am, and I'm only like a level 110.
To get where you are.
Yeah.
So you're still working on that.
Oh, yeah.
How many hours do you put into this per day?
Ooh, if I can, I'd go all day maybe.
Right on. So you go. Okay, so you're still working on this. What helps you practice the most? Is it just? Is there a practice mode in games like that, or no?
Well, the only thing closest to like a practice mode in Siege is Terrorist Hunt, and you just have like a bunch of different just like PCs shooting you, and you can do easy, normal, hard, and you just practice with that. Like, surprisingly, easy is pretty hard.
Okay.
It's pretty hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever played with a keyboard mouse with your setup, or no?
I've-
You're just used to the controller.
I've played on PC before. I like it better, but it's very hard. It's
See,
very hard.
when you were always like, "Why don't you play? You need to play Minecraft with me,"
Yeah.
and then I die in like 2
Console.
minutes because I can't do first-person shooters with a controller. So I'm always like, "How do you manage to do that with a controller? It's too hard." So
Huh. I don't know. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is Clyde helping you a lot with your gaming?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
moral support.
Yes.
Well, he's moral
Yes,
support
sir.
for your podcast appearance right here.
Hello, Clyde. Hello.
What's your puppy's name, by the way? I know you just got a new puppy.
Bonita.
Bonita. You gotta say the ta with the
Bonita.
ta with like your tongue behind your
Yep.
front teeth, so
True-
it's like ta.
A true Latino.
Yes, exactly, like a real Spaniard. Ta. But thank you. Okay, I think that's about 10 minutes, so I think we're good. Thank you for coming on, Liliana.
Thank you for having me,
Oh.
Alex.
You've been a wonderful guest,
Thank you.
and we'll make sure to have you on again sometime.
I will. I'm looking forward to that.
That was very insightful.
Yes.
I learned a lot, and
I'm glad.
our audience will learn a lot too.
I hope they do.